because personally, I think coming from the traditional finance background, the concept of the shared ledger.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about a shared ledger. So I think that people may understand what a ledger is, right? It's a list of transactions.
Right.
This is shared. Then I've heard the term decentralized, right? So everyone has it.
Yep.
Talk to me about the applications that really can build upon that. How does that change things?
Yeah. So the beauty of this right now, let's go back to the start of consensus and decentralized agreement. There have been advances in protocols, in consensus protocols, to come to this agreement now in a very, sub-second finality. So that Satoshi and Bitcoin, that to confirm a transaction, the proof of work and get that transaction confirmed takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Now there are protocols that they can come to that agreement in sub-second finality, which is opening this opportunity for shared applications, right? So let's say me and you, I'm a bank and you're a bank, and we trade between each other.
Sure.
I can run some, specific node or validator. You can run that validator. I won't be specific about any particular consensus protocol, but let's say we have a consensus protocol that gives us that agreement. Now, when we settle transactions in real time, because we're both running the consensus protocol, we can and both come to agreement on pricing data, settlement of trade, everything that happens between us, and then let's say settle that trade on the shared ledger. So we both have access to that information in real time. So it's trusted real-time data that's agreed upon not by a central authority, but by the users of the system.
Right. So it's between you and I, but we both have a trusted system, a trusted ledger we can go back to.
Now,
but we're cutting some people out.
You could be.
Right. Well, and I'm not saying that's a problem, but I guess I'm just going and saying, okay, now, like for instance, when we're sending a wire, right? So we deal a bunch of real estate transactions, right? We've got Fed tracking numbers. We go through the Fed system, everything else, but now we could have a secure system where you and I are agreeing on a transaction. We've agreed that it's the money's been transferred, it's happened, we have a record, and we don't need all of the other systems around us. Is that part of it?
Well, yeah, and that's definitely part of it. And now that just take the concept and start applying it to really all data transmissions, right? So the application use cases that are coming are incredible, right? I mean, and you're thinking of it from a personal standpoint, like me and you sending money, right? But banks are sending trillions of dollars between each other or around the world, where let's say we now have a shared ledger between the banks. I mean, anyone who's worked in banking can tell you how much time they spend sending Excel files back and forth to reconcile information from an administrator, from a transfer agent, from our bank counterparty, right? We spend a lot of time reconciling data to make sure that what they say matches what we have.
I see.
So from an operational standpoint in banking, right, alone, the cost savings that are going to be coming as banks start using more shared ledger technology for whether it be settling transactions or automating investment portfolio tooling. You'll see, JP Morgan and Wisdom Tree, they did a proof of concept for some automated portfolio management on a shared ledger.
And and did they find what they were looking for?
Yes, they did. Yeah. Right. So these proof of concepts have been completed. These applications are coming, and they're not just going to be in finance. I mean, think about one of my favorite examples of something I've seen is the concept of authentication along the supply chain. Right?
Yeah. In other words, that something is coming. That something is paid for.
And the quality of it is what
you've asked for.
you've asked for. I'll give you a great example. One that's common to probably a lot of people, if you're into like sneakers or something. Everyone's they love buying the Michael Jordan shoes, right? We all love
Sure.
Mike. Um, Now those shoes are so popular. Let's say you want to sell them on the secondary market. I go to buy the shoes from you. How do I know you're actually giving me a real pair of Jordans?
It's a good question. I may not be.
There's fakes out there.
Yeah.
Now let's say that shoe was issued with a your typical like QR type code on it.
Yep. Some type of
When-
serialization.
Yeah, when the shoe is made, right? Because now the QR code is the authentication of the original.
Mhm.
So now we add the kind of blockchain concept to this. When I go to sell that shoe on the secondary market, let's say I give you the shoes, you scan it, the matching blockchain asset for the shoe, people call these NFTs,
Non-fungible tokens.
right?
Right.
That asset now, let's say it's authenticated. The real world asset is authenticated. Programmably now, the money can release from your digital wallet to mine
I see. So
because you've authenticated it as real.
right, I've received it. I've scanned it. It's the real thing. And now
Now-
there's a contract almost maybe as part of that.
And that's so this goes to like smart contract tooling. We haven't talked about. I mentioned this briefly, and this is really what Ethereum pioneered, like the smart contract concept. But through the automation of the smart contract, now the smart contract will you'll authenticate. The smart contract will say, "Oh, it's been authenticated," and through the permissioned programming in the contract, the money can release from your wallet to mine. Now, let's say you scan it and it doesn't authenticate.
Yeah.
No money would exchange.
I see.
But this is a real blockchain use case solution, because previously I had to just hope that you were giving me a real pair of Jordans.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
looked real enough anyway.
and if I took you took my money, now it's just between me and you whether or not I'm going to get it back.
Sure.
Or I've paid for something fake. So now you could really apply that concept, which we're saying for shoes, to authenticate really anything along the supply chain before money is transferred to validate the quality of goods. So you're going to see that coming quite a bit in terms of shared application.